So the reason why I'm doing this video is because just about every dog I get into rescue acts like this. Some dogs I get in are pretty easy going. They're easy to place. And I'm not saying all rescue dogs, all shelter dogs are like this, but I'm saying there is a certain number of them that do act like this, and that's
A lot of them.
yeah, they end up in shelters and rescues because of this, and unfortunately, rescues and shelters adopt them out quickly to people like Maggie. This is Maggie here, her owner, Greg, who, let's see, she's 3 years old. He adopted her 2 years ago when she was a year old, and she came in as a stray, and on her paperwork at the shelter, it said she was anxious and fearful. Now, she's not a biter, which is really, she's an Aussie mix. So every Aussie that I've been bitten twice by an Aussie when I was walking past them. That's the only time I've ever been bitten was by an Aussie. So when Greg dropped her off for me to dog sit her, he brought her early that week, and she was jogging around my yard, kind of in a fit. I don't want to say a fit. I mean, she's stressed, running around the yard, and just was constantly moving, drinking a whole bowl of water, just stressed. And he said, well, she's just running around. And that's what most dog owners think. Well, she's just moving around, running around. That's normal for dogs, right? I'm like, well, no. And the whole thing that he's been saying to me for a long time now is help me train her. And he's thinking obedience train will fix this dog.
It won't.
It won't. And that's what I'm trying to... Yeah, and so dogs that I've decompressed, and it has taken me months, I get criticized by other rescues and other individuals that I have my fosters for a really long time, and there's a reason why, and it's because you've taught me how to decompress them. Now, Greg has not decompressed his dog, and he did not know that.
Greg is?
What?
He's the compressor.
Well, and he doesn't know what that means, right? So when he dropped Maggie off with me, she was, like I said, running around. But when he says, well, she's okay, right? And I said, well, let me show you what Sam does. And I put her on leash, and she starts doing this.
Right.
And like this barking and the stressed out everything.
She can't settle down. She can't self-regulate at all.
Why? Why can't she do that?
Well, it's very simple, because when they first got her, they gave her all kinds of affection under the high stress conditions. And now that you're not giving her any affection, she's learned that if I act this way, I'm going to get it. That's why she's doing what she's doing. Right? So what they need to do is decompress her by ID, crates, kennels, and time their affection with the animal. And work with that little split second that she calms down. Here's what you're seeing now. In section 052, you've seen her spinning her head side to side and shaking it, and then sitting down again, and everything is absolutely rigid. Her chest muscles are rigid, her back's rigid. Dog's full of it. It's full of anxiety.
But you know what she's not doing is looking at me.
No.
She's ignoring me completely.
Well, she's not going to look at you right now because she's so anxious and she's concerned about the environment more than anything else.
Yeah.
So this would be your preamble of a dog that's unstable.
Yeah.
I'll say that right now.
Well, she doesn't know me, and she's at my house for the first time. Like, she came by for the visit a few days before this. She did remember me when he dropped her off, but to be fair, she is in a new environment with a new handler.
At 133, and roughly 133 to 139, she lays down. But the laying down is not based on confidence, and you can tell because, number one, again, absolutely rigid. She's laying down in somewhat of a spring-like motion.
Mm-hmm.
She's stress panting. She's looking side to side, and that is where she's either trying to avoid the environment or go into stalking mode. I don't know what's coming next, but I'll look at it. There she gets up again.
Yeah.
Starts sniffing the ground. More signs of stress.
And I have biting flies also around the ear.
There's no doubt that she's going to up her anxiety and up her bad behavior simply because she's seeking affection, because that's what she's been taught. Somebody has tried to soothe this dog.
Okay, so when you say soothe this dog, what do you mean? Describe.
That's when the dog's hyper or stressed or acting foolish or even being aggressive. They sit there and say, take it easy, and they start petting it and start trying to calm it down like a human being. It's the opposite. You leave the dog alone, let it ride itself, and when it calms down, give it that 5-cent pat that I tell everybody, because if you go any longer, she'll build up again. This is really a timing issue. This is going to take months to settle down.
Okay.
Right?
So,
There she goes, and now she's starting to lick herself.
yep.
Right? And just wait. And she'll settle down for another second, and then she gets up and starts pacing again, starts doing more ground sniffing. The thing is absolutely stiff.
Yeah.
There's not a relaxed muscle in this dog at all. This is untrainable dog right now.
Yeah.
You can't train her.
So what trainers will do for the dog like this is they'll
Correct
either
it, put in this place.
well they would either drug her for anxiety, which is what the last seminar I went to is like, oh, put her on Prozac. Like she what are your thoughts on that?
What do I think about that? Foolish. This
Yeah.
is not a human being. I mean, why do we have stress and anxiety drugs? Because people can't cope with things. They don't know how to sort things out. In my books, they're doing it to the dogs now. A typical condition of human morphing to compensate for the failure of handlers at any given time of the day with their dogs. You look at this dog. This dog is over alert. What is she over alert over? What? Being in a strange backyard? What, maybe she sees a dog in the distance, or maybe even it's a butterfly in a lawn. I don't know. But ultimately, this is not good predators, and that is what a dog is. Lays down calmly and observes the environment, and now look at her. She's bug fly chasing.
Yeah.
This dog is doing everything it can to redirect its stress and its anxiety to divert it, which is what dogs do.
Yeah.
She has no train of thought. In my books, this dog's brain is a bunch of scattered mashed potatoes.
Okay.
And this is what's created by humans.
Okay, so at 4:41 through, you'll see her laying
I'm
on.
at 406 right now. Now she sat down again.
Okay.
408, 409, and then the head starts bobbing sideways. Now her jaws are flopping, and then she starts stress panting again. She's looking for all kinds of ways to relieve the stress, but has no capacity to do it because she's been coddled. She's been petted through it.
Yeah.
This is not what you do with a dog. You leave it alone. You just sit there and let it do its thing, and when you see it, act what. There you go. Now there's a snapping at flies.
Yeah, she catches flies. Okay, so
You know what this dog reminds me of? Have you ever seen the movie Dracula?
it's been a long time.
Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yep.
You know the lawyer that was sitting in a jail cell that was going nuts, and he was picking at flies and eating them? That's basically what this dog reminds me of. Totally erratic. It's sad. It's very sad with what people do. But again, it goes back to a shelter situation or a rescue situation. How dare they even give a person a dog like this without any kind of help?
Yeah.
But then again, are they capable of helping these dogs? No. So I'm going to be frank here. Publish it if you want. In my books, these are the types of dogs that come in shelters. And
Yeah.
these are the type of dogs that shelters are putting out. Where do you think it's going to go?
Well, and rescues, because she's not a biter.
No.
But
And eventually that's going to come to a head, and she could possibly do something. There's no guarantee
Right.
she won't, and there's no guarantee she will.
so I asked
Right.
Greg, what is your goal for this dog? And he goes, I'd like to go to my buddy's farm and cut her loose and
Yep.
kick back and hang out and have a beer and let her kind of run around and play with their dogs.
Okay, I got a dog sitting next to a bathtub now.
Yep, that's her. Now I have her tied out in the bathtub. What is she doing?
Well, she's laying down right now, but she's got this look on her face like, where am I and what am I doing? And again, she's completely rigid.
Well, she's not
Totally.
panting. She's not stress panting.
Oh, there you go. Now it begins.
Yeah, she heard the dog outside and sat
Well, you
up.
see, the home became a shelter. It didn't become a place of peace. It became a place to hide. And then when she hears something outside, she overreacts.
Now, he says that when she's home alone, she's very docile. She just hangs out, doesn't get in anything. She's a good dog.
Oh, good. So what does that tell you?
Right. So,
That tells me that as long as the dog is away from its owner, based on what's happened here, it's actually able to take care of itself. So does that mean that the owner is feeding this frenzy? I believe so.
so,
Absolutely.
so in the next scene, I'm out on the deck with her. Let me know when you get to that scene.
There it is. And there's the whining and the pacing once again.
Yep, and she's on leash here, so it's kind of the same thing.
And then the snippy barking, all stress barking.
Yep.
Oh, so what does that tell me? That the actual stress occurrence began at the time of change. So, this dog was a stray. Chances are, and this is what people do wrong, they get a puppy and they lavish it with affection right from the day they get it. And take it everywhere. Dog has no chance to adjust. Okay? And then it starts to breed that, and they keep petting it because that's this dog's behavior, and then it ends up going in a shelter. The shelter gets it. This has been a coddled dog that's probably had all this done, and then they threw it outside or whatever happened to it, and they're glad that it ran away, because most people that love their dogs will look for them.
Yep.
Okay? And then it goes into a shelter, and it's heightened even more, and what do the shelter staff do, or the rescue staff do? Start doing something with it right away. They don't leave it alone. It compounds it. And then it goes to a new home, and the owners of this dog do the same thing. Trying to pet it, soothe it, like they treat dogs like it's a new car. You know, you've heard me say this before. When you get a new car, what do you do with it? Every time it's dirty, you wash it, and you wash it, and you wash it, right?
Yep.
And then once you've had it for a while, what do? You
get lazy.
And you don't care so much because the novelty's worn.
Yeah.
Well, this is what they do to dogs.
Yeah.
The exact same thing. And then when the car starts to be inconvenienced or breaks down or it doesn't look so pretty anymore, what do you do with the car?
You go get another one.
That's right. Exactly my point.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, so here's the rigidness again, the standing up, the ears are overperked. This dog is worried about its environment simply because of stress.
So here's what's interesting. You see how she's looking at the door?
Yeah.
Nobody's home.
Right. Get me back inside, please. This is my safe place.
Yeah. Well, like nobody's home, and she does this at his house. So I went outside. We were standing on his patio.
Yeah.
And she's looking in the house. She's barking like that to get in the house as we're standing there.
She has no ability to cope with the outdoors.
Yeah. He says his neighbors aren't thrilled because she does that barking. And when he's inside and he puts her outside, she barks and tries to get in the house, won't go to the bathroom. He says, or she'll go way out in the back and like lay out there by herself. He sent me pictures of her doing that.
Question to this now: has this dog been around a lot of dogs and let loose to be in dog parks and all that crap?
Don't know. He hasn't done that. No, he took her to training and she snapped at the dog in training, in the training class, and they quit.
Wait a minute. He went to an obedience class?
Yeah.
With a dog that has this kind of anxiety?
Well, he didn't know. That's the thing.
I know he didn't know. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know what he did. My problem is the professional should know not to do it.
Well.
And not push it. What they should have known is to help him decompress the dog first. Go home, put it in a crate, take it out, have a regular daily schedule with it, watch until it calms down, put it outside, leave it alone, get a dog run if you can do it, put it out there, and leave it be until it gets its brain right.
Well, and that's what no other trainer teaches. Not one.
I've got a Doberman pup right now that I'm going through this anxiety stuff with because they did the same thing as everybody else does. And he was a basket case, and I've already had 4 lessons of nothing but decompressing. And then I caught the owners coddling him, and I looked at them and I said, okay, keep it up. One day he's going to turn on you because he's so heightened. Well, they've turned it around, and now he's recalling. He's happy. He's confident. He jumped up and looked right at me the other day, and I was able to pet him before forget it. I should videotape some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Show people what a dog comes in like and then what you got to do to get it level.
Well, that's what I do. I mean, people that follow my rescue, they see him start out. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if I've communicated well enough to my followers that what I'm doing, because I'm not good at talking about it.
You're trying to communicate. The fact of the problem here, Lauren, and as I've said it before, is it's easy to train and fix a dog. It's real difficult to deal with people who created the problem.
Yeah.
Because that means they have to change their whole demeanor and be disciplined. You see what she does? She barks, yaps, and comes back and checks with you, and now she's looking at you, and her tail's wagging because she knows what she's getting now. I'll yap, and then I'll turn around, and my owner will pet me and try to soothe me. Mm-hmm. Okay? And now she's tied out to a tree. Is that her?
Yep. So, okay, pause right there.
Again. So isn't it funny, just to hear this, isn't it funny how any time this dog is not with its handler, okay, or not with a person that has it connected to a leash, it always appears a little bit more calmer right away.
Right. So I know this is part of your training, this tie out thing, without getting into it, of course. But
Leave it alone.
yeah,
Right.
I tie her out prematurely. I'm kind of just seeing, was she tied out? Is she familiar with it? And the answer is yes. I mean, you tie her out, she's like, that's cool. Dogs that have never been on a tie out will hang themselves at crazy.
This dog got loose because she was tied in the backyard.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I want you to think about this, and I don't want to sound unpolitically correct, but I got no way to do it. And this is what people do. We can pretend a dog in the backyard is like a homeless person, okay? Sleeping on a park bench on their own, and some of them are pretty happy with it. And then what do people do? They take them off the streets and try to give them everything and show them the better life. Problem is, the homeless person has trouble coping.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's not used to all that. So here's what these people did. Where this dog came from, it had virtually hardly anything, okay? And now it's got the lottery ticket and it's having a problem coping with it. That's exactly what's happened here, which is very, very similar to what happens when you go and pick up a puppy from home, from a situation of a kennel or a breeder. Providing it's done properly, the puppy has its mother and its litter mates, and it's left alone, and it does its thing. As soon as people take it home, what do?
Give it everything.
That's exactly what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
So, as much as it is wrong to leave a dog tied outside on its own, and people are going to hate me for this, it is far less damaging to do that, although I don't agree with it, than it is to bring a dog home and pay it with all kinds of attention. That is far more damaging. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that concept.
So,
Right.
how many dogs that people have brought you? Let me try this again. How many dogs have you had as clients that were in a pen or on a tie out, left alone, versus indoor pet dogs?
Now, they're all indoor pet dogs. In the days when I was doing this back in the late 70s, early 80s, the majority of animals that were neglected were tied to trees or left in backyards. You don't see that anymore. The dogs that I took back then when I was working with them recovered far quicker, were far less damaged, providing they weren't beaten, kicked, or made to be in the dog fights. Okay, that's another issue. Than they are the dogs of here, because those dogs were grateful for what they got and had the strength and the stability to stand on their own, just like a good person does. It's strong. They can stand alone and face things. These dogs now have no coping skills. They're not mature mentally, and it is one hell of a thing to undo that.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing I always write in the blog. I said people want to know why here in the United States that, these our young kids are shooting up their high schools or movie theaters or malls. It's the exact same thing.
What we're doing now is we're facilitating and compensating. I call it ribbons for losers.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing with dogs. See, under the natural process of whelping, if a puppy is anxious, erratic, or can't find its way, and we've discussed this, what does a mother dog do?
She doesn't help it. She lets it figure it out.
And if it doesn't make it, what happens to it?
Well, it just doesn't make it.
That's right. It doesn't make it. She will even refuse to feed it because there's something wrong with that dog's ability to survive. Now, if the puppy comes to the mother and is calm and seeks food and finds food, what does the mother do?
It cleans it and it gives it,
affection and warmth.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is the opposite. When our puppies are stressed or crying in a crate at night, we come up with radios. Then we put in blankies. Then we sit there and sit with it all night. We may even bring it into the bed.
Yeah.
Totally dysfunctional. By the third day that we have this pup, we go to a park and let dogs jump all over it.
Yeah.
There's your first preamble to dog aggression.
Or you go into PetSmart on a Saturday where most people will sell puppies out in the parking lot, and those puppy purchasers will bring them in the pet store in the shopping cart and let everybody touch them.
That's
and
right.
Forget parvo. Forget that
Right.
you're going to catch parvo. But they're buying the clothes and the food and the bowls and the collars.
What they don't understand is that once a dog has a stress anxiety at a young age, like a puppy, you already are leaving it open to disease, not because of bringing it into the environment, more so that the stress creates a depletion of the immune system.
Yeah.
So, vets are making a fortune on this stupidity. They really are.
So when you tell somebody that gets a new puppy, like either if you get it from a rescue that had pups, or you get it from a breeder, or wherever you get it from, what do you tell people to do?
Well, I'll give you an example of my own puppies, okay? So, I'll sell a puppy or keep a puppy and give it to an associate of mine to raise it, and they'll follow my coaching, because I don't always keep my pups, but dogs that are of quality for showing and breeding, I'll put in homes sometimes, and they'll follow it to the letter. Not a problem. The litter mate will go home to a family, and all the other family members are there, including cousins and relatives and everything else and neighbors, for everybody to look at their new toy. Then they start putting a leash on it on the second day. Then they start walking it all up and down the street. Then they go and see the neighbor's dog. Then they run it to the store. By the third day that they've done that, that dog's in the vet clinic with diarrhea, if not bloody diarrhea, because it's so stressed it won't eat and it starts vomiting.
Mm-hmm.
Then everyone says it's parvo. Then they do the test. There is no parvo. It's absolute stress.
Yeah.
Bring the puppy back here, and I tell them I'll bring it back. And within 2 days, because I do back what it knows the best of, then it doesn't do this anymore. You give it back, and guess what?
It stresses
Same
again.
thing happens.
Well, it's like what Roger was when I got him, and he was, 9-month-old puppy, and there was diarrhea all over his run when he was surrendered to the shelter. And then I brought him here, and oh my gosh, the diarrhea was awful. And we tested him for everything, and he didn't have worms, nothing. It was stress for like a whole entire week, and he was a lot like this dog Maggie.
Right. People ask themselves why their dogs are wonderful in the house but horrible out on the streets. It's because of what they did when they brought it home.
Yeah.
Because it's a change, and the change is stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, I take dogs that have never left my property for 8 or 9 months, but they know how to self-regulate, and they never got this anxious change stuff. And I'll go into town as if they had been there all the time. Okay, now there she is. She's laying down calmly, and now she starts barking at the house again.
Yeah, I think a neighbor pulled in their driveway.
But again, a neighbor pulling into the driveway is not a reason for a dog to bark.
Yeah.
You come up to my house, my own personal dog, who, by the way, was raised in a kennel by the family and everything else. I told you why he was given up, because of a divorce. You don't hear him bark when you pull up to my property until you touch the door of my office. Then look out. But other than that, you don't hear a word. As a matter of fact, he's laying in here right now, him and Bowman both, and there's dogs right at my door waiting for me to come outside, and you don't hear any barking. It's rather quiet.
Yeah.
This dog, needs to start all over again.
Yeah. Okay, so...
And first thing is drop the weight on it. The thing's as fat as a horse.
Yeah, that's what he's been doing. So it's been a few weeks since we were trying to organize this video here. And so Greg's like, give me something. Give me anything. He's like, I want a walker. I want a whatever. I'm like, no, you don't walk her. You don't do, you just... And I showed him the long line exercise. Yeah. And... what's interesting is her reaction to her leash. And I was telling you about that. She would tug on the leash and just put her whole body into it and go wild over it. And I told him, so go get a 6-foot leather leash, and he went and got one. And he's like, she's cured. I'm like, no, she's not cured. She's just, it's different.
Deal with it.
Yeah, it's a different material, but it's like, hold on to that leash so that we can bring it out later. And maybe I thought if we did a video.
Here's what you see here. What section am I at? 1251. The dog will start to yap, then sit down, start to yap, then sit down, and then get up and spin, act rigid, start stress barking again. Now the tail goes down. The back legs are still as hard as a rock. I can see it. Nope, now she's going to the ground and looking for flies.
Yep.
The dog has an absolute pattern. There she goes again. It's almost sad to see.
Yeah.
It's very sad to see.
Well,
no dogs have to be this way.
Well, luckily, she, he's dedicated. He's like, if I can fix this, I want to fix this. Cause
he'll get it fixed if he listens to what he's got to do and puts his emotions in the right spot. Here it is, stress barking again. God, I just got a dog like this.
Yeah.
Old German Shepherd male. His eyes were absolutely hollow, and there was nothing in them when I got him. He now walks with pride and everything else. I mean, he's so damaged he's going to work for me, and then eventually we're hoping to find him a home. But he's now playing with dogs because he has a partner, and he's not aggressive, but not with people, because the people were so afraid of controlling him that every time a person came by, they got scared, and guess what he started doing?
Yeah. Oh, this works.
Only 9 months old, and he bit somebody. They were
Yeah.
going to euthanize him. I said, give me the dog. That's the dog. Should I say it as to what I did? I billed the people $1,000 for me to take their dog.
And they paid it.
Pay me to fix it. That's right.
Well, I mean, that's what board to train trainers do.
They gave the dog up, but still paid me the money.
Oh.
I said to them, $600 to euthanize it, you're going to pay me that. And then you're going to pay for me to spend 2 weeks to just decompress him, $400, and then I'll take care of it from there. Have a good day. And he brought me a bottle of friggin' brandy too. That's how it should be done.
Wow.
I guilted him into it because I let him have it. Yeah, this dog here needs to be decompressed. So what I would be doing with this dog is let it run in the backyard so it gets some of the energy out. And what Greg can start doing is pick 2 spots. Pick one here where he just has to really, really watch. So let's say she's laying down by the tree there, and he's just standing there. I would rather tie her to a tree, and he stands there until she settles down on her own, gives her a pat, and then prays. Good dog, and give her a treat. Good. And then after about a week, remember, you still got to exercise her. After about a week, you'll take her to a spot to the street corner. You'll drive her there. You're not walking her there. Get out, stand there for 10 minutes, wait for her to settle down. Good girl. Go to a street corner, another one, not plazas, not parks, not where people are, and do it again. And you're going to do that for 3 or 4 weeks. And any time that you do not have this dog loose in the house, it's in its crate. So it can sit there and just chill. Okay, there she goes again. The nice thing about this dog, though, is she's not going crazy on that line.
Yeah. It's she's familiar with it. Like, she knows how to not get tied up or wrapped around it.
That's right.
Yeah, so she's...
Is it a 5-year-old dog?
This is a 3-year-old dog.
3-year-old dog? Okay, she sounds like a squealing puppy that was just born.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there she goes laying down again. So here's what I'm saying to you. This dog can self-regulate.
Yeah, and she's
mentally.
rolling around.
Okay?
Yeah.
The problem is, and here it is, the owner doesn't allow her to regulate herself. He's trying to compensate.
Yep. So hands off.
Do as much as say sit, you're compensating because
Yeah.
you're acknowledging this dog for its behavior. That is the dilemma of obedience.
Well, and what I thought was interesting is we're standing there and she was barking to get in the house. As we're standing outside on the patio, and I asked him, I said, "Do you see what she's doing?" And he says, "No." I said, "She's looking at my reflection in the window to see if her barking is bothering me."
The other thing that feeds this is here's this dog barking outside, and what everybody does is they're worried about the neighbors making and complaining, so they go out and get it when it's barking.
Yeah.
No, wait for it to lay down, go out there, wait for it to lay down again, then bring it in the house. Now it learns to shut up, and it'll get the house. Just reverse the psychology.
Yeah. So he's going to have to go to his neighbors and go, "Look, please be patient. This is what I'm doing. Don't call animal control on me," because we have a 10-minute nuisance law. That's our ordinance. So,
Yahoo! I'm glad I live in Canada.
right. Well, I'm sure you'd have it too.
You know what I have? I have a thing called a kennel license. My dogs can bark 24/7, and I get no complaints.
Oh.
And even if I do, they can't say anything.
Right. It's like, well, you move next to the. What do you expect? Like, there's boarding facilities out in the country that do the same thing. They're like,
That's right.
you knew it was here.
Investigated before you bought.
Right. Sorry, but so Greg's been working with. He moved her crate from the front family room to a back bedroom where you can close the door.
She goes again, laying down again.
Yeah. I mean, the conflict is with the person, right?
Yep. It's totally handler-dog conflict.
Yeah.
Complete. And in all honesty, the people that had this dog before she ran away did something right. They gave her independence, but they didn't take it and help her become a good dog because they did nothing with her. But like I said, what's even worse is from this quiet backyard environment on a chain to a shelter, which of course we can't help, right? But then they assess dogs that are under the situations, and they should not, because they're not going to get a true reading. And you know how I am dead against this, that when they do this, they're killing animals that don't need to be killed.
Yeah.
Because it's just too damn difficult to do it right, train them properly. I could tell you right now that if I were to run a shelter, a dog like this would be presented to a client that would get me 10 more adopted.
Yeah.
This is a good dog.
She's amazing. I mean, her prey drive was great, but her food drive was lax because she was heavy.
This is a good dog, but this is a type of dog that they would euthanize.
Well, I mean, they didn't. I mean,
not her, but many like her.
Yeah, I mean, if they have to pick, I mean, shelters when they get full and they got to pick something that.
Okay.
If something has got to go, they're gonna keep the ones that hide in the back. I mean, they're just the easy ones that are kind of like this German Shepherd I have, that it's just quiet and is soft, submissive.
The old adage is, there she goes, see what happens to her? She gets bored and then starts to chase.
Yeah.
She stresses. See, so calming down for her is not the norm. What's happened here is this dog calms down and she has to go right back to being anxious because that's when she got the most attention.
Yeah.
She has a real problem settling down because in her mind, settling down gets me neglect, and being anxious and hyper gets me attention. It's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Based on the very natural process right from birth.
Yeah.
You don't see puppies like this next to their mother, do you? If you were to read a litter of pups, you don't see this. What you see is a bunch of calm, happy puppies that are following their mother everywhere and don't have a care in the world.
Yeah.
So if people would just sit there and radiate and understand the concept of how that works, you wouldn't have dogs like this.
Yeah. So that whole video was me facing her, videotaping. This next segment is me with my back to her.
Yeah.
And look how she's kind of like, well.
And she turns it right back.
Yep. Watch
so
this.
Here's what I got to say to you. The owners of this dog, the current owner,
Greg,
in the eyes of this dog, is a subordinate to this dog.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that he says, he goes, she gets up on the couch or whatever, and she gets pushy about affection, and she like gets all up in his face and stuff, and he's like, "Stop it, it's like I'll pet you, just calm down, just lay here, and I'll pet you."
Nothing. Ignore it, and then she'll stop, and you give her a quick pat.
Yeah.
But this dog is lost. I mean, not through Greg's fault. He got a dog that was already lost, and he just didn't know how to help it find its way.
Yeah.
And what's worse is he sought out help and didn't get the right help.
Yeah. That's
what really irks me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. You need to get back down here. Because there's people that, I mean, there's the two different types of trainers, and I've told you, like, my three-prong approach to training. A lot of people ask you, well, what kind of training does Sam do? What kind of training? It's like, well, they're wanting to know if you're a pure positive trainer, or they're wanting to know if you use any kind of aversive, like correction, or like remote collar, prong collar, choke chain, whatever. They want to know that. And I'm like, he doesn't do either of those. He teaches the person how to decompress the dog. No trainer teaches that.
Everything's easy.
Yeah. So they're like, well, I'll take your dog for a couple $1,000 for 2 weeks board and train while you're on vacation, and I'll fix this behavior. It's like,
no, you won't.
You won't.
That's why I refuse to do it.
She stuffs it. She would stuff it, and
I refuse to do it because when you've done it right, and then you give it back to the owner who is still wrong, it doubles up within 4 to 5 weeks, and it becomes very dangerous.
Right.
I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's, well, and then they teach you how to kind of interact, and it's kind of the analogy I gave you already about the TV show My 600-Pound Life.
Yeah.
And to kind of reiterate that is, that TV show, you've got people that are extremely heavy, and it's impacting their life, and they go in to the doctor and they're like, we want to have the surgery done on our stomach, and he gives them, he goes, you're going to go home and you're going to lose 25 pounds or 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And the reason why he does that is
they have what it takes.
Right. And when they come back and they've gained more, he'll say, okay, where did you go wrong in your diet? What have you been doing differently? And he's trying to get a feel for, I guess, their mental state or whatever, because you can't just go in and shrink somebody's stomach to the size of an egg or whatever, and you've not fixed the emotion.
No,
So
because the emotions are where it's at. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Lacking in discipline, lacking in self-esteem, lacking in will and fortitude. And if you just transpose that to dogs, you get the same thing, Lauren.
Yeah.
Once you strip a dog of its will because you catered to its will, or in a bad way, then it doesn't want to succeed.
Yeah.
And when you train it, it becomes more stressful and then you end up with problems. And then what do? Is they suppress it, whether prongs and chokes and smash it down and correct the crap out of it till it bottles it, or they bribe it with treats to make it easier.
Or they put it on Prozac to make it, I got in trouble for calling it drugged, but it is drugged.
It is drugs.
It is.
It's not a natural process for a dog to be on drugs.
There's some people where if they really do have a chemical imbalance, the human
Sure.
brain being different from the canine brain, and
Well, the least the human brain can reason and understand why this is happening to it and try to and get the help. But a dog's brain, all a dog knows is that it's mentally effed.
yeah.
And what you're giving it every day, it doesn't understand. You can't explain what this will help you get through. And if you're having a bad reaction, call your doctor so we can adjust your medication.
Well,
That's not what happens.
yeah, and then Dolly was on gabapentin for her muscle spasms, and let me tell you, she changed mentally. She would look at me like I had 6 heads, and
That's right.
I said, "This is not my dog." I said, "This is not a," but that's what they're saying. I said, "Just put him on Prozac or gabapentin or."
The convenience of the owner's inability, and why do people have problems mentally is because they're in an environment that causes them to go insane. I mean, God, don't I know it? But on the other end of it, why don't people admit the fact that what they're doing to their dogs before they give it drugs is making it insane? And if you don't change, the insanity continues.
But it's so much.
Sorry, but I refuse to train a dog that's on any kind of drugs.
Yeah, I mean, I've had dogs that were on psych meds that I've taken off. They were fine.
Right.
And it was just they just needed to be decompressed and taught you don't need to be.
The act of convenience.
Yeah, it all is. So.
I mean, well, this coddling stuff and this afraid of the dog's stress. I mean, God, my new dog, born in Norway, goes to Germany and is shown by strangers, then goes back to Norway. From that point on, he is sold to a breeder in Belgium. They have him for 3 or 4 months. Then he gets back to Germany to be shown again as an adult, and he's gone for 2 to 3 weeks. Then he comes back to Belgium, and he's offered up for sale. I'm looking for a dog. I bought the dog. I take the dog home. I spent 6 weeks decompressing him. Do you remember when we did a seminar here? When
Yep.
did you see Bowman out? Just to go to the bathroom, and then what?
Yeah.
Back in. You don't hear a peep out of him. He never stops smiling. He's almost a pain in the butt because he's too happy.
Yeah, he likes himself a lot.
He doesn't stress.
Yeah.
He has no hang-ups. I can trust him with kids, dogs, puppies, everything. He doesn't do anything to anyone.
Yeah.
And if he's confronted with his mortal enemy, which is my other male in here, neither one of them fight because they don't have a point to prove. They're not insecure. They're very stable and happy. They don't need no drugs.
Yeah.
Never used drugs in 40 years that I've been dealing with dogs. Sorry. This is my 50th year. Nobody. Yeah, there he is. I open the door, and he starts barking. I leave, and he'll shut up. What am I supposed to say? Now, you hear the other 2 over here? Those are those 2 dogs that I told you about that I inherited.
Yeah.
They don't stop barking.
Yeah.
So it's so critical on how it's done right from the beginning.
Yeah. How long do you?
Very important.
So people say with Greg's dog, or even those 2 that you just got, how long does it take to decompress him?
Well, I've already had them now here 3 weeks since retirement, and they're still decompressing.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've actually, all I did with them was take them out of the kennel, walk them on a leash. I didn't ask them to heel or anything else, and they're fully trained. I put them in the exercise yard. They're running around. They come back, and they're put in their kennel. I'm probably going to say old dogs like this are probably going to need more than 3 to 4 weeks, right? It all depends, and I can't put a timing on it.
Right.
because they're the ones that have to give it up. But I will tell you this, their health has improved greatly because of being able to decompress and not have all the pressure they had before.
Right. And that's what I try to tell Greg. He's like, okay, when is this, and that's what.
Forget it.
It's
no,
like, you just
can't.
have to wait. Sorry.
The only thing we can do as people is understand how to not feed it so it comes quicker, or the dog's willing to give it to us.
Yeah.
So I have to respect a dog who has a strong will that isn't so readily to give it up. I mean, the two that I inherited or that I got to replace these old dogs in that account, I'll give it to you. The male took me 3 weeks to get near him.
What was he doing?
The female, 4 weeks. And guess what? She's jumping around loose and being great. And now they're playing. Been no argument.
So what was he doing when you first got him?
Who? Which one?
The male.
The young one?
Yeah, the one that you said wouldn't let you near him.
He'd jump up onto the doghouse. He was completely hollow when I called his name, and if I opened the pen, he'd come charging and want to rip me apart.
Yeah. But people would, if you had a dog like that, well, first of all, if it ended up in the shelter, it'd be dead.
Yeah, he'd be dead in the shelter.
Oh, totally. So,
yeah.
And that's the thing is people go, what is it, what kind of technique does Sam use? I'm like, he gives them a minute.
Basically, you want to know what the technique is? The dogs tell me what needs to be done with them.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
And each dog is different.
Yep.
Maverick took a year.
Yeah. Well, and you saw how long Roger took just to get over his diarrhea, and then I got Smokey, who was almost the same story, same dog, but he took a lot longer to get. Do you remember the last seminar where I had those two dogs? One was a spoiled rotten brat. Yeah.
And the other one was tied to a car.
Yeah.
Which one of the two dogs was calmer?
The one was tied to the car.
That's correct.
I have that video somewhere.
The spoiled rotten brat ended up passing away.
Oh, yeah.
It got so bad that he died, and that was horrible. That's what spoiling does. People don't understand it. They really don't.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because they don't understand it. I think, in all honesty, they refuse to.
Well, they want something that accepts them. Everybody goes to work. They go work during the day. They might hate their job. They might hate their boss, stressed out. And they come home and they just want to hug their dog.
That's absolutely foolish. You know what kind of pressure that puts on that dog?
Well.
How about getting the dog to do something so it'll come and hug you on its own?
Right.
And lean into you and want to say, okay, now that creates a situation where both win.
Yeah. And that's the key. There's so many small key ingredients to it, and it makes me nervous to adopt my dogs out. I mean, you saw Roger. I put him in their car. They drove to the hotel. They crated him in the hotel. They went to dinner. He didn't make a peep overnight when they slept overnight at the hotel. They put him in the car. They drove back to New Hampshire from Canada to New Hampshire with Roger in the back in a crate in a strange car, strange people. He slept the whole way there.
That's right.
And when he got to their house, it was like he's been there his whole life. And people go, how in the world did you do this? And I'm like, like you say, you get the garbage out. I got the garbage out.
And let the dog tell you. Just understand what he's saying and understand what they need.
Yeah.
And it always goes back to whelping box theory 101, as I call it.
Yeah.
All of that, and you'll be fine. But not a lot of people understand it. Not a lot of people want to do it.
Well, I'm thinking that maybe if you got Skype on your computer and you can watch Greg interact with Maggie.
I could do that, and I have Skype on my laptop.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So we can do this. I think people would be really interested to see how you instruct him. And he's kind of looking forward to it. I told him, so you can come over to my yard. And that way you can or we could even do it at his house. But I can move my setup kind of outside so where he can hear the speaker, hear you talking to him as he's walking. So Greg's update was in this length of time that he's been working with her on the long line. He's been doing that. He's dropped her weight. He says when he lets her out of the crate now, he says she actually turns around and looks at him when and kind of interacts when he lets her out. He goes, before I would just let her out and she'd just run to the back door, or now she kind of looks at me and goes, oh, hey, it's you, and goes to the back door. So
Okay, so then something's starting to go right.
yeah, and he says she's getting calmer, and he says she doesn't bark at the back door as much. He says she's getting calmer at the back door. When he puts her outside, she's not as crazy. And I said, is that just over time since you got her, since you've been working with her the past month? And he says, oh, definitely like this. So the decompression is working. And he hasn't taught her anything yet. Nothing.
It's going to happen.
Is it?
Here's what's going to happen. Once that dog's brain gets level, everything you show it is going to stay with 1 or 2 showings, and your obedience is going to happen like nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas people struggle for years trying to get their dog right. And the reason why is they didn't deal with the anxiety.
Yeah.
I deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And it takes.
I can't tell you how critical it is.
It takes as long as it's supposed to take.
Whatever long that dog's willing to give it up.
Yeah. And I tell him all the time, I said, a lot of rescues put out their wish list. And I joke and I put bourbon on mine.
That's right.
I said, do you understand now? He goes, absolutely. He goes, yes, I get it. I said, because it's sheer patience. I've been working with you for how long now?
10 years.
Oh, it's been...
No, more than that.
Yeah, 2009.
02, 03?
No, 2004. 2004.
So we're talking
And I'm...
15 years.
And I still get bothered. But I'm getting better at it. I'm still getting better at it.
No, what do you think I did? Yeah, I got this patient overnight. Remember, I got 50 years in. How long do you think it took me?
Yeah. So, for her to sit, I was sitting there and when she was running around my deck when he first brought her over, and he's like, she's doing pretty good, right? And I'm like, well, Sam doesn't teach teach dogs obedience.
No.
He does this. And I go and I put her on a leash. And I had her sit next to me. And I just waited, and she starts that barking, and it was awful. I thought the neighbors were going to call the cops. She was just crazy. And I'm looking at Greg, and he's gripping the seat. Like he's, I don't want to say white-knuckled, but he was just like, and his eye was twitching. I said, does this bother you? And he goes, yes. Yes.
No.
Yes, this bothers me. It's like, you need to let her go. It bothers me. I'm like, well...
No.
Do you think teaching this dog obedience is going to fix this? No. So, but hey, you take him to a board to train trainer. Go right away. Hey, in 2 weeks, she'll have a brand new shiny dog. But,
Ask these board and train trainers to give you a daily video unedited by a third party to come to do it that you would hire and see if they'd let you do it.
They wouldn't do it.
That's exactly right. Tell me why.
Oh, because, I don't know. I'm not going to say.
I know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, here's another thing is how many, did I send you a picture of all the certificates that I've gotten from all these seminars and workshops and everything that I've been to? There's several on there, and I don't know how many thousands of dollars I've paid. Not one of them has addressed the dog's body condition. No. Not one. And
first thing I look at.
Yeah, first thing. And so I had a rescue here locally say, Lauren, just kind of asking me like what my thoughts are on rescue and training and whatever. And I said, well, they work with a trainer here in Southern Indiana, which I hadn't heard of him until now. And he does this part-time. He has a full-time job somewhere else. And so he took this little dog that they have, a little Yorkie mix or something, and he worked with it, and they had the write-up, the behavior assessment written up, and it was pretty good. He didn't feed into its, I guess it's mania or whatever, and that dog turned around in like 3 or 4 days that he had it, and I'm like, that dog isn't that bad at all.
Turn around in 3 or 4 days, it just readdressed it and decided how to cope.
Yeah, so you're not gonna make me do anything that I don't want to do, kind of thing. You're not gonna like come in and reach at me and put me in a purse or hug me really tight or my cute little stuffed animal.
Dog's behavior around in 15 minutes when it's sitting with me.
I know.
It doesn't mean that it's good.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the Cincinnati seminar when that one rescue had that dog, that shy dog. Oh, it was this was like a belly crawling dog. They'd had it for, like, what would they have it for years? You probably don't remember this.
Yeah.
And they said, here, and you take it, and you're sitting up on your stool, and you just take it on leash, and you're sitting there as you're talking, and it's hiding under your chair.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything to it, and you're just talking, and then it comes out, and it starts to sniff your pant legs and stuff, and then it starts to relax, and then it licked you.
Yeah.
And they all started crying. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And you said, why are you crying? And they said, because it's never licked anybody. I mean, it was just really kind of funny. It's like, what? And I don't know. That was probably one of your best seminars. I mean, I hate to say, especially like the in-brand people, when they showed up with one of their Britneys that was kind of nuts. And it was merely where you put the dog in the run. They had it on the first run when you walk in, and it was lunging at dogs. And he said, why don't you, it was on a Saturday, and he said, why don't you take it home, put it in the dead last run, the back, where it won't see anybody. And so they went home and did that. When they brought it back Sunday, it was a different dog.
Yeah.
Just because of where they put it in the run. Like,
just learning and knowing what the dog's telling you and knowing what it's saying.
Yeah. It's basic common sense, and shelters and rescues don't know to look at that stuff. Like, they know it instinctually, but when you finally point it out and say it out loud, they go, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So, I mean, that was a pretty big thing. So, anyhow. So, Greg's going to do this. You have Skype, so he's interested in doing this. So, whenever...
figure this out. I'll get somebody to look at it and get it set up.
Yeah,
It's Skype on my laptop.
Yeah.
That's what it says. There's a little camera lens on the top of
Excellent. Well, I have it on my computer and my, I guess my cell phone I could plug it into and just park it out there in the yard. And I was thinking about putting a loudspeaker so that he can hear you as he's in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need me to hand him...
Right, I could also show him how to deal with a dog that's similar.
That's why I tell people, it's like, that's not a dangerous dog. You should see Sam's dogs. Those are awful. They will hunt you. And you won't even know you're being hunted until the hair stands up on your body. You're like, this is going to kill me, this dog here. Well, I'll see ya. Well, the next video, I guess, will be kind of interesting. So we'll have him...
Well, I'd like to see it most of the handler now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Greg handling the dog would probably tell you a lot more about the dog, and probably Greg.
See exactly how Greg may be feeding it and try to help him so he doesn't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. I have a funny feeling that you're going to see right away what he's doing, because I've already seen it. And I'm like, oh, if Sam was here right now. And he's like, what? I'm like, nope, it's not my deal. I'm not the trainer. I just already know what he's going to say. Okay. All right. Well, I'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.